So here's the thing. When you've been collecting Joe continuously over and over again, eventually other lines start grabbing your eyes. It's inevitable. Do you like Valivers? Do you like Monster Force? Are you enjoying Marvel Legends? Do you like McFarlane? Lots of toys in this 6-inch scale out there for us adult collectors out there to choose from. But I came across one recently that I've been kind of waiting and going, where's the buzz? Who's talking about this? Is this worth getting? And then I got tired of waiting. So guys, today, Crusty Old Crow, I'm going to decide whether it's a player or a poser on a video game character based 6-inch action figure. I'm going to have a look over here at Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima. What is that? Tsushima. From the PlayStation 2 network or the PlayStation network. They have started coming out with their own action figures for their properties. And I have no insights on this. I don't know this character. I don't play PlayStation games. And really, I don't play many video games at all. But this figure did grab my eye. And so we're going to pop her out of the box. We're going to have a look and we're going to ask ourselves, player or poser, what is this figure bringing to the table? Is it worth grabbing? I mean, is the price worth the quality and things like that? If you are watching or playing PlayStation games, feel free to tell me everything you know about Jin Sakai from this game, the Ghost of Tsushima. I think that's how you pronounce it. Let me know what you know about this guy, because I thought this was a very interesting looking figure, and I'm looking forward to opening them up. But I have seen other ones for the games, The Last of Us, which we know is an HBO series as well, starring Pedro Pascal. And we also have the God of War figures in there in this line as well. So if I like what I see with this figure, it's conceivable I might actually pick up a couple more to do a good, the bad, the ugly on. But for now, let's pop this over at the table and see what PlayStation is bringing us for players or posers. Oh, and by the way, if you like these videos, like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. Helps the channel, helps the algorithm, helps me, and then we get to look at more wacky figures. Thanks very much. All right, I'm not going to get too far into the box because the box really does not offer much on this character or this line. It's the PlayStation white and blue. It's got an image of the guy on either side, right? And then your kit loadout with his actual name, and that's really about it. A whole bunch of legal gobbledygook. And of course, this toy is produced by a company called SpinMasters, who are also in ownership of contracts with the other children's toys, Kinetic Sand, and I believe Paw Patrol. So really not much going on the box to explain any lore, any ideas about this. You're assumed to be playing the game if you know who this guy is. So I've popped them out of the box and I've had a little look at them. I'm going to run them under the hairdryer and exploit these supposed 32 points of articulation and get my impression on player or poser. Already, I'm feeling like this is a poser and not a player, just off of what I've seen getting him out of the box. But I will explain that to you as we go. So there was really no surprises with this figure. On the side of the box, they give you the separate piece count that they consider as accessories, being the mask, the sword, and the sheath on this figure. It feels like there should be so much more going on with it than there is, but these are what were supposed to come off. So the sword and sheath, it's a beautiful katana blade or samurai sword there. Sorry, I shouldn't call it katana. I don't really know my Asian weapons that well. Nice white hilt on it with that gold band, and you know, very ordnate, very well colored, very pretty. The scabbard is no or sheath or whatever you want to call it, no exception to that. It's got some nice silver stamped Asiatic kind of decorative display going on towards the end of it, and then it's a simple tie and fold, which you'll pin onto the side of the figure where you can see just above the other short sword he's got. So those two pieces aside, the only other piece they count as is this Ogun type demon mask that he would wear, and it's a nice enough piece, guys, but it will definitely need some heating and some bending, as what they're trying to show you is it's supposed to slip on over the ears. And when we get going with this figure loaded out in the next bit, I'm going to show you that's not as simple as it seems. So as far as play stuff goes, you're really not getting a whole lot of play factor out of this particular SpinMaster PlayStation character, Jin Sakai. He's just not coming with a whole lot. Now, the God of War and some of the other characters I've seen, especially the Last of Us characters, they do come with a considerably more kit, some hand options. But this is really it for this guy. So I'm going to show you some issues I've had with it as far as fitting kit and how he looks, and move things along to show you where I've run into some praise and some maybe less than praise points on our figure here, okay? All right, folks, we're going to talk about these things, points of articulation, the buck itself. First thing you'll notice I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this little cape. I count this as an accessory, but I thought it was an interesting, nice little ad. They utilized their peg holes that, you know, other lines would keep backpacks or screws in there. They plugged that with a little plug and play cape that goes on easy enough when I'm wearing the right prescription glasses, but it slips over there. This little scarf he has will come off if you take the head off. It's separate. You don't need it on there. But as far as any other accessories, these don't count. These two short sword, long sword, or whatever, washadashi, or whatever you want to call it, they ain't coming out. They are not play features for this figure, nor do they remove organically. So they're kind of stuck on the buck and therefore count as part of the buck as I see it. And I'm not happy about that. That's why I say this is a poser, not a player, because there's very little play function in here. You could throw 32 points of articulation in there and tell him that he's got good up-down head movement. The butterfly joints are probably better than adequate. You know, we're talking Marvel Legends here. And the similar kind of rotations that are going on, they've got a different kind of wrist rotator. It rotates in two places. It rotates at the wrist there with the hand. And then again, just below the elbow, you can see that the whole thing turns there. And then at the biceps as well. Ab crunch, it's your typical pivot system. Now he does have enough other soft goods second layer that you're not going to get a whole lot of crunch out of this guy or reflex on that aspect. Again, making him more of a poser than a player. While he does have great samurai armor, if you look at all that color and detail on there, you're looking at the reason I bought this character. You'll see what you would expect with a hindrance if you've been collecting 6-inch toys for a while. The ankle rockers are fine. He's got no shin swivel, but it's all up in the thigh here, that thigh swivel. Fine knee bend, but it's not dual hinged like we're used to. Nor is the elbows dual hinged. You know, it's not double hinged there. It's just a ball and socket, or ball. It's your standard ball joint system there, or single point, I should say. Anyways, wasn't overly impressed with that particular aspect. And the second, you know, the soft goods do keep it from getting him in a crouching pose that looks anything acceptable. But again, if I lift up, there you go. I don't know what that icon is, but I do like this tattered little cape. And I won't hide those other details from you there. Some ab swivel there, but not at the waist. It's all up just below the rib cage. Again, this character is fine for posing in certain things that probably he is, you know, stoic, posing stoically from the video game. But as far as your own creative posing, I find you're going to find yourself a bit limited by a character like this. All right, so I've had a look at the buck. I mean, it's a passable buck. I could see other characters that SpinMaster or PlayStation are doing with less detail add-ons on there, being far more articulate than this one. However, already it's just, it's fine, but it's not stellar as I see it. And really, I'm not happy with the leg posing, the way they've gone about this. You know, it just, to me, you should have had the double bended knees better, but you can see how odd that looks because of the baggy pants mold that they've done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and throw his mask and his sword on there, show you how that's going on and where the issues are with that. Okay, so again, this nice, beautiful samurai sword that he comes with, it is it sheaths, no problems getting that to fit in nicely. It's got a single post, which is going to hinge in, much like if you're familiar with the G.I. Joe Classified Crimson Guard and Iron Grenadier. They clip in on the side. Now, I know some people I know out there in the YouTube community who had a real problem with Storm Shadow will be happy to see that Mr. Sakai here, he puts his sword on the right side, which is the left side, so he can use his right hand to draw it and fight with it. But it's tough fitting that post in very well. But once it's in, it's in. But you can really put it in wrong and it'll just kind of flop around. But there you go. He's got his sword on there now. We'll untwist his torso so he looks more natural with it. You can get him across. Let's pose him like that. There you go. So there you go to our friends who are big sword fans and sword play into that. There you go. That's your main pose, I guess, for our guy here. Now, that's the sword feature. 1 in 3 swords for play. Okay. What about the mask? Well, as I said before, the mask uses these little string hoops, and they're supposed to fit, I guess, over the ears. Now, the head sculpt is fine, but it's not like the ears are prominently defined like Howdy Doody here or anything like that. You're going to have to work this, and that's, I guess, the real benefit of the scarf, is the scarf will keep this from falling down all the time. But you can see mine doesn't fit over his ears very well at all. And I kind of have to elevate and just kind of hold it there for a second, squeeze it on. But that's what he looks like when he's got that mask on. But you can see it's not really a great fit. It's passable at best. Does it lend to any play factor for this? No, not really. In fact, it's another small piece which isn't seated well, which is easy to lose. Something I have to strike this figure against. Now, most of my other toy lines have figure pieces like this. I hold it against them just as well. However, I think they knew very well what they were going for was the paint, the appeal, the look of the character, not necessarily how it played. So what are you going to do? You're going to decide that this guy is a poser, meaning he can pose enough on your shelf to remind you of the good times you had playing this particular video game, whatever it's called again. What did we call that game? If you've played Ghost of Tsushima, you might like this guy sitting on your shelf in a pose that you recognize from the game. But if you're a toy collector and just looking for, good posable figures that you can pick up every now and then and bring something new to the table, I just don't feel like this is the guy. I really don't. So I guess it wouldn't really be a review if I didn't give it some sort of grading. Now, I'm not doing a tack perspective or good, the bad, the ugly on this. It's one figure. So I'd say out of 10, just on average, my first impressions say that this is a poser, not a player. And as a poser, he gets about a 6 at best. And most of that, 6 out of 10, because most of that just comes from the beautiful detail and paint, but not necessarily the potential for this figurine. So a 6 out of 10 as a poser, not so much as a player. As a player, I would have to rate this guy maybe a 4 at best, maybe a 3 or 4 in there, in that you didn't really give him a whole lot that he could do besides draw his sword and drop his mask. So there you go, guys. Every now and then I'm going to pick up an odd figure and I'm going to do an odd review on them. Today I did Ghost of Tsushima from SpinMaster, who are covering the Sony PlayStation line. I did Jin Sakai, 32 points of articulation that I could give less than a shit about. And a very nice decorative character. Would have liked more function out of him, but you know what? If he's your thing, you should go grab him. I got him at GameStop. They are carrying the line, and he's priced about the same as any other 6-inch figure on the line. What the last closing thoughts, I guess, if I were to put him up against scale-wise, you'd probably want to know how well does he scale with Joe. Well, let's do him a favor. Let's scale him next to a ninja, because we don't have any more samurais right now. No Budo in the Joe line, and Slice and Dice are on their way. But he is shorter by about an inch. He's about a 5-inch figure, right? But for some reason, and don't go saying anything in the comments, I'm going to take that as acceptable to pose him and fighting my other ninjas on my shelf in that mess. Hey guys, that's going to do it for today for you know, this particular figure review, whatever I've called it in there. Thanks very much for tuning in and watching, and we will see you again very soon with another review or some customs on my show. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next time.